it's all about the trajectory of where you want to go and having that strong foundation, like you said too.
Yeah.
When you have these high performance habits and you're showing up every single day, and look, life gets hard, of course. And like, this is why on days that we feel good, it's like, let me put in the work to set myself up for when I have bad days to be like,
You're listening to Studio 22.
Welcome to Studio 22. We are sitting with the lovely Natalee Linez. She is an actress, a entrepreneur, and an incredible human.
oh, thank you. Hi, thanks for having me. I'm so excited.
Thanks for being
Well,
here.
how long do you think I've known Natalee?
Oh man, 8 years?
That's close, but longer.
Longer.
I'm 27. We met when I was 15, so 12.
Damn,
Wow. Yeah.
that's impressive.
Friends with my little sister.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Besties in high school.
Oh, very cool.
Mhm.
Okay.
And I had no idea until probably a couple years ago that you wanted to be an actress
What?
and then became one.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's pretty awesome.
That was always my thing, even in high school. And everyone's like, okay, good luck, have fun.
Tell me about it.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, well, thank you.
Thanks for the encouragement.
Yeah.
Right. It's pretty standard, especially I think in Orange County where we grew up. It was very much not like a incubating, encouraging space to be in.
Mhm.
But also there's a nice little fuel to that fire and wanting to get out of there when you have a dream and a vision, I think. So it's nice you're here, you're doing it.
I know. It's
Yeah.
crazy to think about.
When was your first job?
My first job, well, I started, I think I heard you say this in a podcast that y'all did, but like with modeling, because that was the only way to break into it, even though I always knew that I wanted to just do acting. But modeling was a way to make money and still be available for auditions and kind of get comfortable in front of the camera. So I started doing that at like 18. And then my first show was at 23. But I had been auditioning for probably 5 years. So I think I had like 300 no's before my first booking.
Yeah, pretty low number.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
it's so easy. It's just like a breeze, you know?
Yeah, we talk about that a lot though, like that persistence, right? I mean, it's really just consistency and like being okay with the no's. And like even on like a smaller scale with like the comic, it's like you have to go through 100 artists before you find one that's like not exclusive with like DC or Marvel. And even some of them were or are,
Mhm.
but like there's ways to figure it out. But like, yeah,
Which is why it's so important to take action. I feel like action precedes anything. Like knowledge is power, but action is so much more powerful because literally, as cliche as it is, 1,000 failures is one success. So you got to start failing like yesterday. I love helping like new actors with breaking into acting, like where to start. And the first thing I tell them when we sit down, I'm like, I just want you to know, like, this is the hardest thing that you'll ever do. And there's zero instant gratification, which is something that we're all so used to with like Instagram or Amazon, whatever. And this ain't it. If you're looking for like
Yeah.
overnight success, ain't gonna happen.
Yeah, they say every overnight success has 10,
10 years of
behind
hard
them.
work.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And to go back just a little bit, I mean, that's one of my favorite quotes. It's always been, knowledge is nothing without action. You can be the smartest person in the world, in the room, wherever you are. And if you do nothing with it, then it is, what's the point, you know?
gotta have happy feet.
Yeah. And exactly. Happy feet.
Keep
exactly.
them going.
Exactly. And I think it's a true testament to knowing yourself and what you want and what you're willing to do to get it and sacrifice. And you learn a lot about yourself along the way. And that's one of my favorite things about acting too, is it's a self-awareness, not only in the craft, but the resilience it takes to have success in, in the space in Hollywood, and a lot of people give up and they quit. And I've got conversations with friends who've made millions of dollars and they're like, I can't keep doing this, getting told no and da-da-da. And I'm like,
And there is a point where if it doesn't become like passion anymore, because so much of it is the process, you have to love the process. That is 80% of it, especially in the beginning. It's like process and then you're acting like 20% of the time. But sometimes I feel like for people, it becomes like they realize because it takes so long and you're like a different person 10 years later, 15 years later after pursuing it. And that's why it's so important to take time quiet time for yourself, like every morning routine, which I'm sure we'll touch on. But because you might not want to be pursuing that goal anymore, which is like totally okay. But sometimes we can get so lost in it and be like, I'm miserable at auditioning, but I don't know why. Or like, I don't like this thing anymore. You know, you have to love the audition process.
And an evolution of self too, like figuring new things out that you're passionate about, that you care about, you find interested in. You know, Will recently became a writer and has now written a comic book and scripts as well,
So cool.
working on that. So I think there's evolution behind it, and you could still have your original passion, but that is something too. Like, how many great directors started off as actors, you know, and maybe that was the first introduction of like, I think this is what I want. Oh wait, I really like sound design. I really like editing, or I really just want to go work a 9 to 5 and have a normal life. You know, I've got friends that one of my closest friends, Joel Rush, we just did Righteous Gemstones together. That was his
Love
last
that
role.
show.
That was his last role. He's like, I just want to, you know, make 6-figure, you know, live on the water, raise my daughter, and have that life where I can spend time with her and do that. And he's like, this is not it anymore, you know? And it's cool and admirable to see that too. And it's because it doesn't always have to be, you know, I need to be the top dog, A-list.
I have to make it. I have to make it.
Exactly.
Because then it's ego almost. If you're not really loving it and happy about it and passionate, then it's just, you're just doing it to kind of be like, oh, I did it. But then you realize when you get there that maybe it doesn't make you happy.
Yeah. Are you fulfilled and happy when you get to that destination? And if you're not, then you need to kind of readdress and look exactly why you're there, why you're doing it in the first place. Because, I mean, that's a pretty dangerous cycle, I think, of not being happy, not being fulfilled, and not, you know, being where you want to be. And who knows, you know, maybe making macaroons is the way to go.
That's right. It's like my authentic self when I'm the happiest, is just
Absolutely.
baking.
Okay, I'm going to do a quick shout out to the macaroons here and get a good little view of these.
Do you have a brand behind them, or is it just you being an amazing baker?
It's just me. I think that it'll be under magic type of thing.
Yeah.
Maybe later. I don't know. Oh, you know where it'll be? I want to open a coffee shop like in the future. And so they'll sell there. But
Very on brand for you.
Yeah. People have asked me about like selling these, and I'm like, oh my God, with magic and acting, like it's too much work right now, you know, to be baking all day.
So for anybody who's unfamiliar, can you tell us about magic?
Yes. Magic Mornings is a morning routine method that I created during the pandemic. And magic is an acronym that stands for meditation, affirmations, gratitude, intentions, and coffee.
Oh,
And it's pretty much like the way that you start your day is likely how the rest of the day will follow. And I feel like so many of us wake up and check our phones and instantly get in this cycle of like anxiety or FOMO. Like by 7 a.m. before they even open their eyes, they're like, I wish I got invited to that last night, or like comparing themselves to someone. I found that it's been so important also after doing a lot of research that like a morning routine can truly change your life. Essentially.
100%.
Yeah. I was listening to like a lot of podcasts and doing a lot of reading before the pandemic after my first show. And I had a lot of time off, and I kind of came off this high of like working for 8 months and then not working for a year and being like, oh my God, okay. Fully aware that like this alone isn't making me 100% happy. What else can I do? And so after hearing about what these like mindfulness coaches and high performer coaches, they all had something in common, which was a morning routine. And I was like, all right, what's up with this? So I did some of theirs that they already had, like
tried a few out.
I tried a few out, and then none of them really worked for me. They were just kind of complicated, or they didn't have everything I needed. So I created MAGI. So I called my girlfriend, and I'm like, a friend of mine, and I'm like, I came up with something amazing. It's called Maggie, and you're gonna love it. And she's like, aren't you obsessed with coffee? I'm like, yeah, why? She's like, magic. Shout out to Levin for coming up with magic. But yeah, so I kind of ran with it after that and created an Instagram for it. And I got a lot of like people just organically loving it. And so I just created like a template that I would send to people, but not the actual journal yet. Cause it's like a tangible journal that I sell now. And then this one girl made like a TikTok about it. And she's like, this is how I went from 5 to 6 figures, magic mornings. But like, she didn't shout my brand out. She just kind of was like meditation, affirmations, gratitude. Like, and I'm like, hello. So I trademarked it that night. It kind of lit a fire.
Smart.
Yeah. And then from ever since that, because it went like mini viral on her Instagram or TikTok. So I created the website and the journal, all of that during the pandemic.
Very cool. Have you found have people been reaching out and kind of sharing their stories and like how it works for them and, and all that?
Yeah. I love seeing how people use the M. So M is for meditation, but really it's like, it could also be intertwined with mindfulness or manifestation. Like it's just taking a few deep breaths.
Yeah.
We literally go through our day and we don't take a conscious breath. So this is just waking up. And then for the M, you could write 5 deep breaths. Of course, I would love for you to do like a 15-minute guided meditation or like a silent meditation, whatever, to really drop into, that creativity that you want to manifest or whatever that is. But you can do those on other days. And some days it's just like deep breaths. And then of course, seeing like what people had wrote in their magic journal a year ago, and then it had come to fruition now. And then them sharing that with me is like literally amazing.
That must be really, really fulfilling to like help other people kind of achieve their dreams like through your system.
That is I feel like purpose in life is to help people understand that they can follow their dreams and not have to like listen to outside noise. And that if you take action long enough on anything, 10,000 hours, it can happen. It's just a matter of like checking in and taking inventory on yourself and taking action.
My morning routine, like I'm so obsessed with it. And it's like, it's a very similar process in terms of like, I'll let my dog out, I make my French press. And like, I'm very mindful to like not get right into emails, like work emails. Cause you always, there'll be a bunch piled up, but like I make sure to have some sort of like 10 to 15 minutes of just chilling and enjoying the going outside or whatever it is. And just like, that's my M, right? That's my.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's all it is. 10, 15 minutes.
Yeah. How have you noticed change in your life since you started not only helping other people with it, but in your own life?
Doing magic daily?
Doing magic daily, yeah.
Well, I've read back. So I started it technically at the end of 2019, started doing it. And intentions, which is the I in magic, is my favorite one because I love setting goals in general. And the intentions are like, they're goals and they've come true from what I've put a year and a half ago. I am, a lot to do with acting, a lot to do with magic, being on podcasts, whatever it is. But yeah, so that's one major thing that I love to see. And then of course, just the mindfulness aspect of being more aware of how my days are going and being able to look back and be like, oh, wow, I was, it's interesting to look at my affirmations from a year ago because it will be like, at that time I was trying to rewire my subconscious brain to believe these things about myself, which maybe a year ago was like, I am creative, right? Because I used to not think that I was. It was like a limiting belief I had. And now I'm like, holy cow, I am so creative. So it's like I have now created that belief into something that I actually believe.
That's one of the big hurdles. Like early on with the writing, I probably rewrote the first issue like 30 times because I didn't believe I was a writer or I could write, right? So like getting over that hurdle is big for creative people because no matter what it is, you have to follow through, you have to revise, and like really just believe in yourself to do it, obviously, like you're saying too. But like, I love how you developed like a system around it where you can track it and like actually put goals and like really figure out, here's the next step. Here's what I need to do. I wish I had your system when I was creating that, but I'm going to start to use it now.
Yeah. That's such a great way to put it. Tracking it. It's like one thing to just be mindful every morning, which is a great thing to do, but also having this journal diary of your years of like what you're insecure about or goals that you used to have that have now come true.
Yeah.
Hell
I think it's like in therapy too. You know, there's intangibles that, you know, you can't really test. So it's more based off of feeling and, you know, a scale of 1 to 10, how do you feel, right?
Mhm.
So if you're able to mark it down and then as you work and create with magic, for example, through time, you realize, oh, that 10 for me or that 1 has now become a 10 or vice versa and all the way down. And so having the ability to go back and look, because I find notes, like I love writing in notebooks all the time. I always have. And so I've got tons of them piled up and I'm like, dang, some of my goals from like 2012 I have done and thrived in. And some of them, like I've had the same idea for a decade and I still haven't done it. And I'm like, damn, okay. Creating an action list, an item list, and doing things like magic can make all the difference to you actually achieving your goals instead of being, you know, like when I first moved to LA, I was in the club scene. I was like 18, 19 years old or whatever before I'd actually even moved. And there's all the same people saying, I'm an actor, I'm a director, I'm this, I'm that. And it's like, okay, 3 years goes by, you're still doing the same thing. You haven't done, produced, directed anything. What action are you taking? And so it was, for me, it was 1 year of being 19 years old and, you know, being in that scene of people realizing this is not the answer. This is not going to get me to where I want to go. I need to take a step back and realize what I can work on and the things I'm in control of while, you know, working on my physical health, my mental health, my career, learning more about business, and then surrounding yourself with great people, like-minded people, people that push you to grow. And those little small tools all add up to the sum of where you're at. Because I believe, you know, our life, there's things that happen outside of it that definitely affect it. But everything is a result of our actions, our reactions to life and the things that happen to us. So if you're not where you want to be, switch it up, do something different.
I think that's super important. Like I used to believe that like partying and like the networking you do through partying can like lead to all these amazing things. But honestly, it's what you do during the day. It's not what you talk about at night in the club. It's what you do during the day in the offices and in all that. And the first step to all that is like a good morning routine and having a productive day. But it took me, you know, 3, 4, 5 years, my early 20s to like really figure that out.
And that's what your 20s are for.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why we have them, to learn about ourselves. And I think, you know, you'll get there. But when you get to your 30s, you really, I feel like, have set into who you are and what you want and what you want to accomplish. And then you figure out who you like to have around you. And not to say you need to be in your 30s to do that, obviously.
No, yeah, like 26, 27 was like when I started that journey, I would say, you know, like
I'm so
early
glad
stages.
that you said how people think that networking at night events is like really important. Because I feel like that's something that I'm currently semi-struggling with. Like my intuition is like, knows that when I come out of those, I'm not like, oh yeah, I connected with this huge CEO or like a director of a movie. And I'm so aware of this because I've been in LA for 7 years. But then I'll have like friends or, you know, whatever, agents. It's like, no, it's a good opportunity. But I'm like, the proof is not in the pudding. It's not there. It's like the hard work that I put in and the emails maybe that I send or like, yeah.
If it can lead to a meeting in their office the next day, right? Or like the next week or whatever, then that's where the actual, I'm not saying it's bad and like you can't meet people that way. I'm just saying like.
Yeah, I mean, look at, you know, our friend Shay Mooney, you know, he met Dan, his partner, and they've been hyper successul at a party. So you always go to the party, right? So that was his thing. But
Dan and Shay.
Yeah. So exactly, he was saying, you know, go to the party, but it's the same thing. It's what you just said, Will, what you touched on, Natalee, is can you get a meeting out of it? Does it turn into something? But also the perception, I feel, is also important of when someone sees you. You only get one first impression. So if their first impression is you know, getting drunk at a party, doing whatever, it's like, okay, well, this person doesn't really take it serious. Even though I'm here too, maybe they don't take it too serious, or I'm not going to think anything of it, or that's a dime a dozen, right? But it's what you do with that time, in that time, also how you show up. Like I have so many moments of wishing I just opened my mouth and started the dialogue that I wanted to start with people in the room that I was in, instead of just being nervous or wondering if it was the right time, or like, but then I got to a point too, like I always say I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be when I'm supposed to be there. And for me, there's a comfort in that. There's a grounding in that of I'm not here. Like I could be sitting next to Steven Spielberg, you know, I'm not going to sit here and be like, yo, I'm an actor. Can you do something? I'm like, but if an organic conversation starts, you know, and something happens, like obviously I would love that. It'd be great. But if it's not the time or it's not meant for my path, that doesn't mean just because that person's there that I'm supposed to be on that path with them. It's not the way it works. And if one door closes, you can open 10 more. It's really just trusting your gut, your intuition, exactly what you're saying of like knowing. And it took me years to finally set into like, okay, my gut has been right every time that I trusted it. So that takes how many years or months or hours or, off of the time wasted on people and energy and, things that I thought I was supposed to pursue and put them back into, okay, well, now I know moving forward, okay, I wasted this many years when I was in my 20s. I wasted this many months in my 30s. And now I'm like, oh, this person is going to be that same thing that I've already learned and experienced. And now I'm able to identify it. And how do I show up differently of like, okay, I respect where you're coming from. I see maybe you have a vision, but not everybody's a leader. Not everyone's going to be able to see that through. If some people might have great ideas, but there's not the follow through. So it can talk a big game, which is most of, LA in general. You're at the coffee shops and they're yelling at somebody and saying their script, but really there's no one on the phone. Like they're talking about how their script's the next biggest thing. We've got the biggest app in the world. I'm like, that's not how it works. It really takes, it takes hard work. You got to put, sometimes you got to lose sleep. You got to show up differently and you got to understand the relationships that you play in people's lives and vice versa. And you just got to be willing to put in the work, but it's learn from your failures, and those 300 auditions were temporary failures that led you to a success. And it was willing to stick through that because you're passionate about and you love it, that got you to where you are now and where you're going. And it's so fun to see. It's inspiring, and it's something that like, as somebody who's also going through, we know the Hollywood, the industry very well. It's, it's like, you're like, yeah, that's it. You got it. You got what it takes. Cause that's one of the missing links that people overlook. And we're not, owed anything. It's okay. I'm grateful. I'm so grateful if I can get a meeting, I can get an audition, I can get a moment. But when the time push comes to shove, I got to show up and do the work. I got to show up and show that I have the value that you guys need in this moment. And so constantly working on evolving my craft, myself, my even my understanding of business, which has exponentially changed,
We were like doing podcasts in Nashville and he gets a call from his manager about an audition. And literally like right when we finish, he just goes and knocks it out. Pretty sure he got it. But I'm just like
so impressive.
But it's like you're saying, being flexible and just staying on it. And like you were doing 3 things at once, but you made sure to hop on it, right?
Yeah. And that's exactly it. It's like maybe I needed a break, maybe I needed a moment to myself, but I've said, this is what I have to do in this moment. I got to show up. And that's how I see it. It's like I'm willing to put in all of the hours, all of the time that it takes to achieve my goals, because I know there's going to be, people always ask me this. This is just a simple example of, do you ever take days off in the gym? No, I don't. Sometimes I do 2 days. Why don't I take days off? Because life gives me days off. Sometimes I'm going to get sick. I'm going to have an injury. I'm going to have to travel. I'm going to have work that I can't, do that. It's the same thing with everything else that I see. If I have a goal, if I have a dream, we've got this podcast we want to get off the ground. We have the comic book. I've got my acting and so many other avenues of things that we're interested in and I'm interested in and I want to achieve, where it's like, okay, I'll put in all the work and the time because one, these are the things, that I'm hyper focused on, that I believe in, I'm passionate about, that I can work off 2 hours of sleep a night and still get up and get the job done. Last night I was up till 4 a.m., and I slept terrible.
I was emailing comic artists until 3.
Exactly. But we got up and now we're doing the podcast and we're back to back. And
I booked a cover artist for issue 2. And a really, really big one, like a super famous one. I'm really excited.
Oh my God, you guys.
This is fun.
Yeah.
This is where our passion lies, right?
You got to love it. Like you said, you got to love it.
Not everyone's supposed to be a billionaire.
I know.
Not everyone's supposed to be the top executive producer or, the top actor, actress. It's not the way it goes. And sometimes your path to that road that you believe is the right one will actually open up and show you, but you have to listen to your gut. You have to be open to understanding what your role is and how you show up. For me, it's like, my dream, obviously, would be to be the top, be the top male leading actor in Hollywood. To create. I believe I will. I'm not going to stop working, and I'd be extremely grateful if that happens. But go ahead. No, yeah. And so for me, it's like it's the time in, it's the work, and I'm willing to do it.
A lot of the things you're saying are things that you have in your control, like working out. How you're saying, no, I don't take days off because life takes days off for me. And also it's one of the few things in life that you can control. Your habits, your routines, what you consume on the daily. And in our industry, in any industry, we have no control over, there's so many other factors that they're not our say. So if I can control my like mindfulness and my morning routine and working out and reading, then it can set me up for some like grounding when life gets crazy.
Yeah.
I love the idea of the morning routine because like another golf analogy, but like everything in golf is like before you hit the ball. Are your feet too close together, too far away from the ball? Are you gripping the club correctly? You know, all these different things that people just don't think of. Are you aimed where you need to aim? And like, if you do all that correctly, 9 times out of 10, you're going to hit a good shot. And like, it's all about the trajectory of where you want to go and having that strong foundation, like you said too.
Yeah.
And like, that's why I love that concept. Yeah. And I love these macaroons.
Setting yourself up for success, I think is the main thing. And if you have bad habits, if you're going out all night and you're waking up at 11 a.m. and you're not exercising your body and your mind, then, well, first of all, the universe probably isn't going to grant you a lot of great opportunities because you're not attracting that at that moment. Your habits are saying like, I don't really care. And so the universe is, magnetizing, I don't really care opportunities. Whereas when you have these high performance habits and you're showing up every single day, and look, life gets hard, of course. And like, this is why on days that we feel good, it's like, let me put in the work to set myself up for when I have bad days to be like, well, at least I'm not at like a negative 100. Like I've been, pretty stable at like a positive 10. So now I'm at maybe a 0 when something bad happens.
And I think I'm a firm believer of, giving 100% of yourself no matter what it is. You're going to have days that are better than others. You're going to have, everything's going to feel right. Your mind's going to be right. Everything's going to work out perfectly. And you give 100% and you get 2, 3, 4 steps ahead on that day. Then you're going to have days where you're not feeling good. You're exhausted. Things aren't clicking. Nothing's working. But if you still give 100% of yourself on that day, exactly like you said, you're not netting a negative. You're netting a positive still, and you're moving forward to where you want to go. One of my favorite quotes is, "We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence then is not an act, but a habit." And it's Aristotle. So I think maybe he knew what he was talking about. We're habitual creatures,
He was pretty smart.
Yeah, he might have knew a thing or two.
Yeah.
You say I'm the one with good quotes. Come on, Aristotle.
That's a good one.
Yeah, that's a 10 out of 10 right there.
Wow.
I always looked at it like I heard, I don't know, well over a decade ago about how if we look at our minds like a computer and we get programmed, or we program ourselves as well, nature versus nurture too, and how we show up in the world. Well, if you look at it, like I take moments like learning that quote, or a quitter never wins and a winner never quits. And like I imprint those kind of mindsets and
like
ideals,
a
mantra. Exactly. And I put those ideals into my programming. Well, now it's like, well, if I show up like this from now on, and I know that that's the 7 habits of highly effective people, or Think and Grow Rich, and the list goes on and on and on. If I add those all the sum to who I am, and then we are doing this podcast with wonderful people like Natalee who have magic.
Absolutely.
and so many others that have these little nuggets of like what made them successful, what makes them happy, what makes them grateful. Like if we add everything up, and it's all different. We all have different paths, different ways we got to where we want to go. But if you can take those little moments and make them your own, and that's something that you identify with and works for you, your entire life is going to change because of it, because of your habits, because of your mindset, the way you think. And I like to call them like defining moments. Life happens like that, and it'll teach you lessons over and over until the moment you learn it, and it's a defining moment. Quotes become defining moments for me.
Morning routines. That's like a defining moment. It's a habit, right? It's a habit. I feel like M for meditation, you could also have like a sub M for like mantra.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. It could stand for so many things.
Yeah, it's a good acronym.
Very well done.
And that's the concept behind a mantra too, is like something you repeat over and over again, like a habit. So it's like programming your brain to think and believe it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then when you believe it, you embody it, and whether it's subconsciously or exactly.
Be about it.
Yeah, be about it. Exactly. About it. So tell us about some of your projects you're working on.
Ooh.
Or have worked on.
Well, one project is Raising Kanan on Stars, and season 2 comes out on Sunday.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, super excited about that. That was really fun. I got to move to New York during the pandemic for 8 months. Usually they would fly you back and forth, but because of the pandemic, they're like, you got to move here. And I was like, bummer, I got to move to New York. Yeah. It was so fun. A lot of the people that lived in New York, though, were like, you're here at the weirdest time because it's empty. Like the streets of New York were empty.
Yeah.
But that experience was so fun. I got to like play with an accent, and it takes place in the 90s. So
My favorite decade.
oh my gosh. Same? I don't know. I was born in the 90s. Were y'all born in the 90s?
90. I was
Yeah.
90, yeah.
Yeah. How old do you think I am?
Well, that's the funny thing, because you've always been Carly's older brother.
Yeah.
And so when you're 15 and you're, even if you're just like 19, you seem so much older.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
40.
You know?
With a beard, I am.
So it was super fun to like, you know, dress up in her, she's like a drug dealer's, she's not like, she is a drug dealer's girlfriend. So they're super rich. So she's always rocking this like vintage, well, not vintage then, but Givenchy, you know, leather jacket, and her hair's always done, and she's got these long nails. So it kind of just drops you right into character once I get all of Jessica's stuff on.
Her accent's so good in it too. So good.
Thank you. It's really fun.
If you want to talk like that for the rest of the podcast, it'd be great.
Imagine.
What accent is it? I like have obviously looked at it, but now I need to like go through the entire season, right?
Yeah. It's New Rican, so Puerto Rican, New York.
Oh, okay.
So yeah,
You're like, what accent is that? What country
it's
is that
like a Latina New York.
Got it.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's fun.
it was super fun. I watched a lot of Rosie Perez.
It kind of reminds me.
Oh, yeah. Like White Man
Yeah.
Can't Jump. Like
Yes,
Rosie
I
Perez
watched
in the
that.
90s. That's a great film.
She's
So
incredible
good.
in that.
Ugh,
Yeah.
iconic.
Absolutely. And that movie in general is iconic. Woody
Yeah.
Harrelson, like incredible. I would say, but the accent kind of reminds me a little bit of Margot Robbie in Wolf of Wall Street.
Oh my gosh.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
You know, she did an interview and she was talking about exactly what I just said, how like she gets the nails on and then it just kind of drops her right in, and she's just immediately like that with like the attitude and everything. And I'm like, damn, that's so cool.
Yeah.
And then I did it and I was like, you're so right. The nails really do it.
Dude, that's
That's
awesome.
awesome. I can only do that with like a hick. Or like
Redneck?
Yeah.
Have you ever done an
Redneck.
accent, Brock? I feel like you could do a great, like
I think a little like, I think I have like natural country tones to me. So I think I've played with that a little bit, but yeah, no, I haven't really.
not yet.
Yeah, not yet. Yeah.
My mom's from Texas, so I would say I'm half Texan.
I've done a Dothraki accent. That's a little,
Oh, yeah, you did.
It's a little-
Twice.
Yeah. Different language.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah.
I've like helped him with some auditions when he had accents, and they were awesome.
I believe it.
I don't hear him often, but like he crushes it when he actually focuses and like does it.
I hope
Yeah,
that
fun.
y'all aren't available one day to tape him so I can, because I feel like we'd have so much fun auditioning.
Come on through.
together.
Let's do it up.
Spencer, as much as I love working with you on auditions, I think getting a professional
Taking your
in
job.
here.
It really is one of my favorite things, though. Like another thing that I'm so passionate about is helping young actors like get into acting. One day I'll create a course, I think, like an online course talking about the business side of acting, like
Yeah.
how to get an agent and a manager, incorporating versus not incorporating, because now we can't write things off, you know, like money stuff and pitch emails, headshots, resumes, all that.
That'd be really helpful.
I know.
Yeah.
I really want to create it because so many people ask me, and I take meetings with people for free, obviously, like anyone that DMs me. I mean, if they're like, no, you know,
Like non-threatening.
yeah, non-threatening.
Yeah,
thank
yeah.
you.
After
I'll-
doing a thorough background check.
Exactly.
We,
Usually just girls.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, I'll like pretty much consult them, and I just love it. Oh, but what we were talking about earlier, I can kind of tell right off the bat if they're going to be like, have the grit, you know, because you can just tell by their intention. Like if they just know what it takes, I'll be like, hey, yeah, so like you're in it for the long game, right? Like why do you want to be an actor? And they're like, it just depends on like what they say, or they're like, yeah, no, like I can dedicate like some time to it. And I'm like, okay, I'll still help you today, but it's a lot.
Yeah.
Right.
It's a lot.
I've had a lot of friends who I've helped, and they've changed their career or vision of where they want to, work or create or do so many times in such a short amount of time where I'm like, this is the 5th business idea I've helped you with in the last 3 months. I think I'm good now.
Yeah, exactly.
I've done everything I can do.
5th time's the charm.
See, the trick is consistency.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, I mean, but that's something too. Like it took me when I first came to LA and I didn't know, like, again, I started with modeling and I was trying to learn where I wanted to go and had no experience in acting, but I knew that's what I wanted to do in the long run. I got a quick intro into some of the agents that weren't so great. I'm not going to name any names, but I wish I could. But it taught me about, how I show up and learning more about the industry, more about business in general, like you said, getting incorporated. And all of those tools really come to the sum of like, okay, well, great, you just got a big acting role. But I mean, my first acting role between SAG and taxes, I got less than half. Yeah. Much less than half. And I was like, ugh.
You're like, this is what I signed up for?
Yeah. And even the person who hired me was like, damn. Like,
there's so much to learn, which is why it's so important. I know analysis paralysis is such a thing. I get it all the time with magic because there's so much to do when running a business and it's really hard, especially when you don't know anything about it. So with acting, I can so understand how someone doesn't know like where to start. But the problem is when you want to do it so bad, but you haven't even like hit up Google because all the answers are there to start at least. Like,
I think it's so funny how we go to school for 17, 18 years and we don't come out with those skill sets, simple skill sets.
Yeah, like basic accounting and like balancing a checkbook and paying taxes, stuff like that.
It's definitely...
but like you said, some people don't know what to look for, right? Yeah. Like they don't know what to Google, right? Like headshots and stuff like that.
Totally. Yeah.
That's why I think that could be so helpful.
I know. I will create it. I'm manifesting it right now.
Oh, you're already helping people. So you just got to like organize it.
Organize it.
Yeah.
You're going to have to come up with a better name, but like Magic B, it's like a Magic Business Edition.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you could keep it like under the same umbrella kind of.
Mm-hmm.
And then macaroons.
I know I have to add that.
Add the
macaroons. I need to have one of those. I'm sorry. I keep...
Dude, I'm going to have another one.
You guys, you're going to have to tell me how you like them.
I love them.
I told you off camera and I'll tell you on camera. These are the best macaroons I've ever had. They're amazing.
Oh, this makes my heart so happy.
That's a clip. We'll clip that for you.
Please do. Now I am going to have to start a business because it's going to be like y'all eating them and then people are going to want them and then there's going to be no way for them to get them.
Yeah.
We can be the official podcast of the macaroons.
I just supply you guys every week.
Everyone will come in and we'll give free macaroons.
Oh my God, wait, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Well,
okay, we'll talk after.
It's a great idea.
I would hate to have unlimited access to these. Oh man.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll start after I get really lean because that's gonna hinder my
one a day keeps the doc away.
Okay. Or the lean gains away.
I don't care.
I'm down. It's worth it.
It's worth it.
If you have it at the right time, it's healthy.
Makes me so happy watching you guys thoroughly enjoy my macarons that you've been calling macaroons.
Macarons.
I'm kidding. You can call them either or. They're technically French macarons.
From the boulangerie.
That's right. In Paris.
Tu parles français?
No.
Our buddy Andrew is always oui. Like, yeah. That means yes.
Will's got a little background in French.
Oh yeah?
I took French from like 4th grade to the end of high school. And as a sophomore, I was in AP French with my older brother, who was a senior. And we were like, it was maybe the most fun class I've ever been in because it's like me, my brother, and like a couple other chicks. And we would just like have so much fun in French.
Laugh. Laugh all the time.
And we made this video. It was our final project. We could like pick anything. And I'm like, because I was headed to film school, I'm like, anything I could turn into a video, I'm going to make a video. And my brother was a superhero and called Cream Puff. And
that sounds great.
Already. I was the villain. But it was a horrible, awesome movie. It
was your first one.
Yeah. It was like short film.
What was your villain? Anti-Puff?
No. Oh man, I don't even remember the name.
Is there any way we can dig this up at any point?
I think my mom has it.
Oh my
awesome.
gosh.
My mom like was crying, laughing when she saw it. She's like,
That's
"Are
great.
you turned this in really?"
This
Yeah.
was in high school.
Yeah,
So fun.
we got a B plus. I
There you
think.
go.
Not bad.
B's get
Not bad.
degrees.
Did you guys
That's true.
go to college?
I went to USC. I went to film
nice.
school.
I did.
I mean, thank God I had like film classes to like keep me tied in. I spent more time with the fraternity than the classroom, but
Yeah.
I got a diploma.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Luckily.
That's hard. Good job.
Yeah, in film.
More
No,
than
thank
me.
you.
Yeah.
It's easy when you love something like we're talking about, right? Like I would get like C's in like science, but I'm like, I don't know science.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna be a scientist. Why do I have to take this? But
You have
Yeah.
a point there.
You're like, I'm not going to
Yeah.
use this.
no,
I
not
went
at all.
I went for one semester, and the second weekend, I didn't start my clock. I never even played football in high school because I switched 9 times, so I didn't get the
Mm.
opportunity. But I was always very athletic and fit, big. Like, I mean, I love working out, and that's what I did. That's what I did. But I got scouted for D1 3 times. I got a bunch of different, approached by a bunch of different people, and there was a community college that didn't have much money. Barely, if anything, barely made enough to even pay for my classes. So I didn't start my clock, and I took 2 classes at this community college, and one of them was, it was funny too. I just to sidetrack a little bit, but I would go to the games because they wanted me to see the team and watch the game stuff. And I'm like, dude, no offense, but like, are you serious? Like, these guys are terrible. I don't even play football, and I can play better football than that. But so I wasn't passionate about wanting to join the team, And the career planning class I took, I got talked into because I was like, I didn't really know, a pipe dream was acting. It was something that, where you come from where I come from, it's unless you
Hit the lottery.
it's not going to happen,
Mhm.
And at least that's what I believed at the time. Well, this career planning class, the second weekend, they gave me this piece of paper, and on the piece of paper it had 3 columns. One of them was like, here's all of the different jobs you can do. This is how much time it's going to take to achieve each one of those, and this is how much money you're going to make. So
Oh my God.
naturally, my first instinct is, let me see the best option. Okay, the best option was be a doctor. It's going to take you 8 years to do this, and you're going to make 150 grand a year. And I'm like, what?
I mean,
One, I don't want to be a doctor. I respect and I love doctors, and we need doctors 1,000%, but I am not equipped for that. 2, I don't have the money or the wherewithal, the understanding. I don't even know if I'm going to be able to do that. And then I'm only going to make 150 grand. How much debt am I going to be in? How much, and how much taxes? And I didn't even know that much about anything, but I knew that was not enough for me to give up a decade of my life for something I didn't love, know?
Yeah.
And so I literally walked out of the class that day, and I was like, I'm not coming back. I packed up my stuff, and I started sleeping on buddies' couches until I, in LA, because I was like, I know that screw it. If I'm going to fail, I'm going to do it, going for the dream, going for the goal. And
In
And
the
here
best
we are,
place
you
to
did
make it
nothing.
happen.
exactly. I just knew
exactly.
I had
Here
to
we
get
are.
here.
Both you
Yeah.
guys.
Didn't
It's so
fail.
cool.
Yeah, exactly. And it was just the understanding of like, look, you can fail at anything, and might as well go for what you love and give it a shot, try. And what's the worst case? I'm going to be broke. Already broke.
Yeah, exactly, right.
What else is going to happen?
I can definitely relate on going into college and then them giving me the options. And I'm like, I don't want to do any of this. I have no money. I'm not interested in getting into debt. So it looks like
Yeah.
I'm going to pursue the pipe dream.
Yeah. I just knew I could barely even afford community college. It was a couple $100 for a class or something. Barely get that. I was like, how am I going to pay for med school?
Yeah.
How am I
I
gonna do
did
any of that?
financial aid. Did you go to Saddleback?
Yeah, I did.
Me too.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I got financial aid though. I was like,
Wasn't smart enough to figure that out.
it was a lot of work to get financial aid. I'm like, Mom, you need to sign all this paperwork. Like,
I had no shot at that.
I'm like, who knows how to do this?
Yeah.
Like,
I had a buddy who lived off financial aid. He kept on signing up for more classes for like 7 years.
oh my God, that's
I'm like,
hilarious.
You cracked the code, my friend. I'm not going to say his name, but he made it out. He's doing all right now. He's doing good.
but
Hey,
one thing,
if you're getting it, like take advantage of it, right? Like
Exactly.
get as much as you can.
Yeah.
Use the resources that that are available for you.
Yeah.
we're lucky to
1000%.
have that here in California.
Yeah.
But
What-
student loan debt is like a huge issue. So you guys are smart not to, yeah.
Smart and just lucky too.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people that I know went the student debt route because it's normal.
Yeah.
It's like the next step to do. It's not crazy to do that at all. But for some reason I was like,
My buddy just celebrated him getting out of debt. He's 42 and he just got out of debt from student loan.
No
and I was
way.
like, and it was a huge thing for him. And I'm like, wow. And he's he works in the medical space too. And I'm like, dude, one, congratulations. That's got to be the best feeling in the world. But dang, like 2 decades of
debt weighs on you.
Yeah.
I remember having like credit card debt when I first moved to LA, and I was so broke and figuring things out. And oh my gosh, every day it's just like you see the fees on your credit card because you're not paying them.
The worst.
And you're just like, what am I going to do? How do I even get out of this hole?
Yeah. I get it. Yeah. I remember paying, it was like the minimum payment on one of my credit cards at the time, like years ago, was like $240 or something. And I was like, I have like 80% of this is going
to the interest
and 20% is actually paying off. I'm going to be in this for like 50 years if I can't pay this off. Luckily, I kept working and paid it off. But it was so funny to me seeing that for the first time. I'm like, it's so easy to spend money, and it's a total different beast to actually learn how to make money.
They want you spending money, that's for sure.
We'll give you all the credit cards you want in the world at 19.
Credit cards
Go
are
ahead.
not your friend, which is another thing they do not teach us in school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, you need credit to really do,
But there's like a right way to go about it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. You got to be smart about it. And, it also plays into, impulse control and, available. But it's also sometimes survival. You need it to survive. And if you have that available resource, it's like, well, I kind of need it,
That could be another aspect of like your course or your thing, right?
Absolutely. Like the financial part.
Yeah. Yeah.
100%. I think that would be so useful to people. And I had to figure it out, bootstrapping acting. And so the hard way, I guess. And there's no easy way to do it, but there is a way where you cannot be so in debt. Like I was consulting someone this week about, they're getting into acting. And I was like, okay, first thing you're going to do is not spend $700 on headshots. Because when you get repped, you're not repped yet. When you get repped, you're going to get new headshots. Because they're going to want you to get new ones. Because you're going to figure out like what you're going to go out for, what you're going to audition for, and it's going to change. And that's like the main thing people do is they get excited and they spend $1,000 first, but it's going to change.
It's amazing how fast you can spend money in Hollywood and it really not go anywhere. Or it's like all one. And I fully believe in, when you're making money, put it back into the system and help, all of us keep going. So there's going to be, acting classes and headshots and, putting your reel together and doing all that stuff. But also doing it intelligently, doing it smart, and doing ways that set you up for success instead of being like, look, I only had $1,000 extra bucks that month to spend, and you just did it on something that is now, it's out of date. It doesn't work.
Yeah, you're not going to be able to use it.
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie, I slided through for a couple of years with no headshots. So
yeah,
it's there's also
iPhone shots.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So there's no one way to make it either. There's no one path. Everyone has a different way to get to where they're going.
But you can save people a lot of trouble and like get them at least in like the right starting point, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I think that's super smart.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna ask you guys for advice, and then I'm gonna create that course.
Gotcha.
Because I feel like you know how to build courses. I don't know. You guys feel all knowing.
No.
Not even close. We are.
Will's laughing.
At
He's
least
like,
I
no,
know I'm
far
an
from
idiot.
it.
I think, but that's the thing too. It's at least having the resilience to say, I can figure it out.
Yeah.
One of my favorite mantras, you could say, is there's always a way. I will always believe and find a way. There's always a way. It doesn't matter how hard it is. It could be, you could take the hard route, the easy route. It could be luck. It could be, just total fluke,
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the day, but there's always a way.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're willing to just stay persistent, be resilient, use your willpower, but also power it by passion and habits, the real ways to get to where you want to go, you can do anything.
100%.
Amen.
Make a course. So yes, we can. Are we going to?
We don't have time, but anyway.
But yeah, like it all begins with searching inside yourself, like first. And you're like, because everything's about enjoying the struggle of figuring it out. And if you're not enjoying it and it's not what you truly want to do, like you said, some people kind of show up and like, yeah, I'm doing this, but I kind of want to see. And it's like, okay, well, you're not really committed.
Yeah.
This isn't an exact quote, but it was from Kobe. And he's like, it's not the destination. It's the journey.
Mm-hmm.
It's always going to be the journey. It's the friends you make along the way, the things you learn, the experiences you have. It's not you get to that end goal and it's like, this is it, this is everything. It's, it's the road there. That's
Hell yeah.
it changes everything. And that's how I feel too. Is like, I know I'm on this path that I believe I'm supposed to be on. I'm going to work as hard as I possibly can to achieve it. But even if I don't end up where I believe I'm going, where I want to go, if I help one person along the way, and that was why I actually was on this path in the first place, or multiple, God willing, then that's what it was for. It's I think moving with gratitude for every single thing that happens, good and bad, and doing it with an openness and a willingness to, understand and learn whatever lessons you're supposed to at the time. And, whether you are showing up in someone's life to be an example or a teacher to them, or they're supposed to teach you, whoever the student role, if somebody's just supposed to be a passing, hello in your life, or it's, learning too. Like I always tell people, it's, if once you get rid of the negative people, you make space for the good ones. And it's being able to identify and understand, because it's painful, because sometimes it's family, sometimes it's close friends, sometimes people you love about a relationship, but realizing, look, I can still love you, but that doesn't mean I'm going to let you hurt me anymore. And so when
boundaries.
Exactly. And you open up that space, well, then you're free to set sail after that, I think, So there's ways to do it. One of my favorite things I've ever learned is you have to teach people how to treat you. And I think I've definitely talked to both of you guys about this, but it's one of my favorite things I've ever learned, because at the end of the day, when you teach people how to treat you, you're setting up boundaries, you're setting up what's okay in your space, and then nobody can take advantage of you. They can't hurt you. They can't do these things because you're not going to allow it. And when you do that, one of two things is really going to happen. They're either going to treat you the way you have taught them to, the way you deserve to be treated, or they're not, and you realize, look, that you're just not welcome here. There's no space for you here.
And then you leave space for energy for the right type of people to come into your life.
Exactly.
And it's really hard to let people go, especially if you're in a relationship and your gut knows that it's not right, and you're still hanging on for plethora of reasons, I'm sure. But once you let go, everything you want is on the other side of that uncomfortability and that fear of being alone. Everything that you want. There's like a short amount of time of uncomfort and sadness, but you need that in order to grow, in order to reach where you want to go.
Pain versus pleasure. It's without the pain, there is no growth. There is no learning, It's to being uncomfortable enough in those times to make a change, to let yourself be like, that's the only thing. Like if you're comfortable in that space and that's where you thrive, and people do that, they thrive in chaos, and that's what they know, and it's understanding, and that's what's comfortable for them. And if you're not able to make the change and realize, like, look, this is not what's going to get me to where I'm supposed to go. This is not supposed to be where my story ends, then you're going to be stuck in that, and it's literally just taking that step back, and that's that cycle. It's breaking the cycle exactly and moving forward with it. But
what is it? The definition of crazy is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different outcome.
Exactly.
Yeah, insanity.
Yeah.
I like what you said too about the fear of the unknown, right? It's like jump off the cliff, you'll feel better. Liberation, that's what being free is.
That was not literal. Just so you know.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a metaphor.
Unless you're cliff jumping into a beautiful lake. No, yeah, it is that, it's that uncomfortability that, it makes things move. It forces us to be uncomfortable enough to take action. And when you take action, now you're going to where you want to go. Even to the point too of like, with your writing in the beginning, Will,
saying, scared as shit. I was
exactly.
Like, you write and you write and you write. You spend 2 days on a draft and like you read it and you're like, no, that's not it. I'm uncomfortable with that. Like I'm afraid of showing anyone that.
I'm uncomfortable. That makes me uncomfortable.
Yeah, right there. That makes me uncomfortable. And like, yeah, just fucking do it again. Rewrite it. Go back to it and like keep going and going. But if you like it and you have a goal and that's what you want to do, then you'll figure it out. Like you said, like you just,
how could you
what you
know
want to do.
that you're not good at something if you've never tried it and
100%.
tried it at least like 10 times? Like writing is a great example. You want to be someone wants to be a writer, but they're just like, oh my gosh, the negative things that I have told myself in my life that I'm not creative or I'm not a business owner, I'm not an entrepreneur. Of course, the imposter syndrome of acting and all of that, which is why, doing affirmations every single day is super helpful. But also what builds my confidence personally is action and trying it and doing a million auditions and booking work. And it's like, oh, okay, I've been on set now, this many times. I'm that much better at it. Or I've written 10 drafts. You're not where you were when you wrote that first draft. Obviously, you're much better. And that's with anything, any sport, any cooking, baking. Oh, I can't cook. Well, first of all, if you keep saying
Try cooking.
if you keep saying that, I always tell this to my mom, I love you, but she'll be like, can't do that. And I'm like, have you tried though?
Right. Have you tried? I love that. Yeah. It's,
Awesome.
have you tried? Like you asked like your mom for help on homework when you're a kid. And she was like, have you tried to do it yet? I'm like, no.
Yeah.
I'm afraid of it.
Yeah.
That makes me uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. If you had any advice for a young actress or actor, what would it be?
Ooh. Bring your special sauce to every single project or audition or room that you do or go in. I think it's so easy to get put in this Hollywood box. I know that I've been put in it for my whole time here, but I'm learning how to be myself and like mold that box into what I want it to be and not what casting directors, producers, directors, agents, whatever want it to be for me. And so I think the earlier on that you can start building that confidence in yourself, that what you bring to the table is so important, because when a casting director is watching a million audition tapes, doing the same thing over and over and over again, when you go in there and you bring something, I bring something that only Natalee does, right? Like this weird laugh that I have or a quirk that I have, and I actually use it in my audition, they're going to be like, oh, wait, what is that? That's different. Yeah, I like that. She just showed me something that I didn't even know I wanted for the character. And what builds that confidence is doing it, obviously, getting comfortable auditioning, getting comfortable on set, or in acting class would be a great place to use your special sauce. But yeah, I think being yourself, for lack of better words.
Love that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Always. My little brother, I hired him when I was managing a moving company, and we went to this elderly couple's house. They had all of this wood piled up in the backyard. It was all like old shelves and, desks and stuff that was falling apart. And so we signed onto this job, and I go to move the first thing, and I'm telling you, probably 2,000 spiders run out. Like it was more spiders than I've ever seen in my entire life.
I would have died.
Yeah. They populate like crazy, right? So he immediately went into fight or flight. He went into flight mode. He's like, I'm not doing this. And I was like, I'm doing this.
Yeah.
When we signed up, I was like, I don't care if you do it or not. You can wait in the car. I'm getting this job done. So I just threw my gloves on, and eventually I started moving everything. And through that, a couple minutes goes by, and then he's like, all right, I'll help you, and I'm like, I'm not scared of some spiders. Screw these little things.
Yeah.
So we finished the job, and I go up to the door to finish the paperwork and get payment. And the guy starts talking. We start talking while the paperwork's being filled out and everything. And I asked him what he did for work. And he said he was a college professor. And I was like, oh, this guy's got to be smart, right? Maybe he has some advice. And I remember asking him for the advice. I said, do you have any advice for me and my brother? He goes, oh, yeah, actually, okay, I do. And I've never forgotten it. He said, first thing, bring your own uniqueness into the world.
Mm.
And ever since then, I was like, okay. And it was before I moved to LA. And that was when I signed up with the first modeling agency. They told me to cut my hair, stop working out, stop doing this, stop doing that. I never listened to it because I was
Stop
like,
working out.
Yeah, well, modeling, they want you skinny and, whatever. The other thing that he said to me was, be true to thine own self. So they kind of went hand in hand, coincided with each other. And ever since then, I was just always an advocate for being who I truly am and bringing my own uniqueness. There's only one of you. And I feel like we all have a unique role in each other's lives, in our own lives. And moving forward, you never know who you're going to, your life is going to touch or inspire or change. Or, I've gotten messages from people just from me, things I've written. I had no idea what was going to be, but I was just being me.
Authentic.
Yeah, the authentic self, right? And so ever since then, I've just been a huge advocate for, we all are special in our own right. Especially, growing up in Orange County when everyone's wearing the same skinny jeans and the faux hawks.
True Religions and the...
Exactly. I worked at True Religion.
Oh my God, I remember that.
Yeah, that was an interesting time. One of the places I got scouted for D1, actually. But so funny that like it was just I've always just felt that way. And so when I hear someone like you say, that's the advice I want to give, I'm a huge advocate for it. And because I know it brings a comfort. It's okay to be weird. It's okay to be different. If I want to listen to, Miley Cyrus, which she's awesome. That was maybe a bad example. but
it's true.
Whoever it is.
Yeah. Because it's so easy, especially living in LA. I don't know about you guys, but I always feel like, oh, do I know the cool movie or this director and I kind of want to change my interests or my likes. And it's like, no, I'm obsessed with Taylor Swift and I know every lyric to every song and I'm going to own that.
Hell yeah.
As you should.
Yeah.
And that was one of the things too, like even the way I show up in the world, like thinking back in the day that I needed to wake up at 6 a.m. every morning to be successful. I'm like, no.
Right.
I don't. If I happen to be at a place where 10 a.m. is my normal.
Totally.
Great. And if I'm comfortable and happy with that and I'm not trying to adhere to someone else's standards, and I set my own, but I'm being healthy and I'm being active and focusing on things that are, good for me and those around me, then I'm doing something right, because I know myself. I know myself to know I'm more creative at night, that my writing is more,
exactly,
more intense, I get more done.
And there's a book called The War of Art. And he talks about how he literally went from like being unemployed to implementing a system, not unlike your morning routine where it's like 11 to 2 p.m. was like his, the 3 hours he was most effective. And he said, I'm going to write every day, 11 to 2. It's not that much time, right? But if you stick to it and do it every day when you're most effective, like you at night, you will build something eventually and like keep growing it and all that. So it's like, finding that time. 100%.
Yeah, and it's that consistency too, right? And everyone's going to suck when they first start something. I mean, maybe not everybody, but for the most part, if you're really trying to do something, you're not going to be very good at it. How do you get better? You work at it. You stay consistent.
And I feel like a common thing that a lot of people have too is I feel like we're lucky that we knew what we wanted to do. Or I don't know, you said you did know you wanted to be an actor?
Yeah, since I was like 5, yeah.
Same, 6. So I feel like we have that luxury to know what we wanted to do since we were really little. It's like, a lot of people are in high school and they're like, all right, what college do you want to go to? What do you want to do? And how are you supposed to know at 18? So I feel like another good thing of advice would be create time and space for yourself every single day to be alone for 15, 20 minutes, whether it's at night, 11 to 2, something to where you can be like, listen to your body, your gut. What is the universe telling you that you want? What do you think that you should go take a class on, or what kind of people that you want to surround yourself with? There's so much noise that sometimes we don't even take inventory on like what we really want. And so how are we supposed to work hard at it? Like all the advice that we're giving of, staying consistent at what? If you don't know, journal, take time and space to yourself, read, mindfulness.
Yeah, magic. Make that magic.
Yeah.
Do magic and it'll pretty much change your life for the better.
It's very interesting. I was watching this video about being still and staring in one location. If you can stare in one location for 2 minutes straight, you'll realize how much you actually rely on your phone, on distractions, on, the TV, on whatever, being even sometimes just busy work, right? But because when you start to become still and you take deep breaths and you meditate, right, it changes your perspective of like, okay, what am I doing right now? And I always, think about what I'm doing to numb myself. And there's different versions and levels to that, right? Numbing can be, just going on social media and checking out for a minute. Numbing can be doing drugs. Numbing can be, constantly being surrounded by people just to like not have to deal with everything that you need to deal with. It could be a million things, right? But having the awareness when being still of what am I doing to not be still? What am I doing to numb in this time? And realizing, oh, that's something that I need to actively work on so that I don't need that crutch anymore. I don't need that. And then I become the most effective, best version of myself. And then I get to where I want to go.
And
I find that helpful, like driving in the car, you're in traffic and stuff, you just take a deep breath. It's a form of meditation.
Yeah.
You can do it anywhere, anytime.
And it's so empowering to make that decision to be like standing in a line at Starbucks and being like, you're aware of yourself going for your phone. And then you're like, oh wait, I'm not going to do that right now. I'm going to sit in this moment. Oh wow, I've been coming to the Starbucks for 5 years and I had no idea that painting was on the wall. Or you meet someone or you see a cute dog and it makes a conversation. And it's cool because you're now in control of what you're doing rather than being on autopilot and reaching for your phone all the time, or however you choose to not think the thoughts that you don't want to be thinking in that moment.
And you said the magic word, awareness, right? Like that you are the awareness behind your consciousness, right? Like that's true enlightenment. That's
that's what it is.
That's the good stuff.
Natalee, I have a question.
Yes.
How do you deal with failure?
I think that something super powerful that's helped me is getting pen to paper and writing stream of conscious and kind of letting it all out on there of how I'm feeling like a failure. Because then I can read back. So like in that moment, if I feel like I failed at something, I can read back on like last year's writings and be like, oh, I'm not that much of a failure because last year I was, dealing with this thing that I totally overcame. And then it can kind of fill me with some hope and empowerment that, it's not that bad, like what I'm dealing with in this moment. I mean, I think it's important to feel as well. I think that's one thing that we don't do that my therapist encourages me to do when I'm like, oh yeah, I was sad about this. I was thinking about, whatever it may be, this audition that they didn't like me on. And he's like, okay, that's okay. So sit in that and feel. It's just a feeling. It's like so powerful to understand that feeling failure is like, it's just a feeling it's fleeting and it will go away. The problem is if you stay in a cycle and then you can't get yourself out of. And in that case, I feel like that's why it's important for me to carve out time and space every day to like read, because usually what I'm reading is self-help or,
Do you do Eckhart?
Yeah.
I love Eckhart.
Yeah. So like reading 30 minutes of that in the morning, The Power of Now.
Yeah.
There's really nothing that can be said to me that day that's like, if I didn't get an audition, it's like, okay, well, it wasn't written in the stars for me. It just empowers you in the morning to be like, just things are a lot bigger than we make them in that moment.
For sure. Like Power of Now and New Earth. I mean, it completely changed my perspective on like the world and people and how to think and how to process, like 100%.
Show your arm. Show your arm. Your tattoo.
Oh, the sleeve is super tight.
Oh.
But I have Love and Do What You Will right there from the New Earth. Yeah.
Oh.
I forget how you show your arm.
Oh my gosh, I love that.
Natalee, what does your tattoo symbolize?
This right here is sleepover with my friends. I'm just kidding.
Sleepover with my friends.
This is the tribe that I was a part of for 24 hours.
Hell yeah.
Very nice.
But also Jay Shetty, ?
Yeah.
Jay Shetty is what got me started in mindfulness at all. It's when I started listening to his podcast, I think in 2018, just like a year before the Magic Journal was developed. But I feel like he is, oh my gosh, his writing is so digestible and you can really use the tools that he shares every single day. And he talks a lot about morning routine. So that was one of those people that I was talking about that inspired me to create the morning journal because, from him to Oprah to Brennan Bouchard, whoever I was like reading, they're all saying, this thing of like having some mindfulness in the morning and how it's life-changing. So Eckhart, Jay, they're the homies.
Hell yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Jedis.
Truly.
So yeah, so what future stuff can people look out for that you're working on?
My current show that I just wrapped in July is coming out September 7th on Hulu called Tell Me Lies.
Nice.
So that is going to be so fun and exciting. It's based on a book. Emma Roberts and Kara Price are producing it with their production company, Bellatriste. So it's going to be so good. Oh my gosh, the trailer just came out. So check that out. And then Raising Kanan season 2 will have already come out when this episode airs. And that's on Stars. And then, a couple projects.
And Magic obviously continuing.
Magic is continuing. It's up right now if you guys are interested in the journal or creating a mindful morning routine for yourself. It's on mymagicmornings.com. And it's the journal. And then we just launched our in-house collection of like crew necks and loungewear.
Very nice stuff. Very nice stuff.
Yeah, soft and cozy.
I don't know if they have my size, but it's very nice.
I know you don't. I was thinking about that.
And then just let them know your Instagram, I think.
Okay.
Plug away. We're here.
Yeah,
to plug.
yeah.
All
We're
right,
plugging.
it. My Instagram is at Natalee Linez. Natalee is spelled a little funky, but you'll figure it out.
We'll put it up on the screen.
Yeah. You don't have to spell it out. It's fine.
And my Magic Mornings is Magic's Instagram. So yeah, thank you guys so much, by the way, for having me on. Like, you guys are so inspiring. So to be asked to come and chat with you guys was like big honor.
Are you kidding? We're grateful and honored to have you on, and we're excited for you and everything you're doing. And obviously, you know, I've known you for so long, and to see where you've come and where you're going, it's a pretty cool thing.
Feeling is so mutual.
Yeah.
I love what you're doing, like helping people too with things that can actually affect them directly, right? With their production and learning and all that. It's great.
Yeah, thank you. It's definitely a passion of mine. And for the journals, every journal purchased, one is donated to a high school student focusing on under-resourced communities. So
oh, wow.
Know that. I know, I don't plug that enough. It's like, I know it so well, but that's our mission, is to integrate mental health and wellness tools into schools across the country, because obviously we didn't get that as kids. And so now that we know better with all of this mindfulness that our parents don't even know, we can pass it on to the younger generation, which I think will be so helpful, because love can change the world in the moment, but what do I know?
It's
an Ed Sheeran quote.
Now that I know that, I was going to do it anyway, but especially now we'll get one and put it with our centerpieces.
Oh yeah.
I have a little journal there.
I already have one, and she hand delivered it today.
That's right.
I expedited shipping, dude.
Expedited shipping.
That's awesome.
Well, we'll get a few more.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah. All right.
All right. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you for watching. Don't forget to drop a like if you enjoyed the video.
And subscribe and hit the bell for a whole lot more to come.
Thanks for tuning in to Studio 22.